Everyone. As we sit here recording our last episode of the year, we're thinking back to when we first started our podcast, which was really only 10 months ago, but it feels much longer. I think our bond as our work besties has only deepened. And what's really incredible is just how much we've learned over the last 10 months, not just about podcasting, but also about each other and really what it takes to work together on a side hustle or a business. So, this episode today is all about those key takeaways and us sharing some of the things that we learned along the way so that you all become more prepared in case you want to start a podcast of your own.
Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry. Work Besties! So welcome to Work Besties Who Podcast. We're going to start off with some questions that Claude and I have prepared to help all of those who are interested in learning about podcasting. So you're going to learn a little bit about behind the scenes and some of the fun tips and tricks that we've learned. I'm going to kick off first, reflecting on our journey. Claude, what was the hardest part, do you think, about getting started with our podcast?
The hardest part was to really commit and all the operational of the podcast behind the social media, the editing all the podcasts, and also to keep excited each time by this new adventure. What about you?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously the editing, because hopefully the editing's gotten better as we've moved throughout the season, but editing was probably the biggest challenge in the beginning, especially with getting people's voices not to sound robotic or to all sound the same. So that was fun. Definitely a new adventure that I had not partaken in before. The other thing that was definitely a key learning is trying to get stuff planned weeks in advance, so you're not scrambling.
Which we are still working on, which I'm still something that I'm still learning to do, and not sending you posts the day before. Oh, okay, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a little bit of last minute nature, but especially when it comes to plotting out the guests and who we want and how to position them, I think we've learned a lot along the way on that. And that's one where the more you put into it ahead, the better the outcome will be. And I think that's a key learning we probably didn't know in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think is the key to maintaining a strong friendship while working together on something so personal?
I think any partnership that you're working in, whether you're work besties or not, there has to be an element of trust. Especially you and I are people who have full-time jobs, full-time families, and this was all in addition to, and this in and of itself is like a full-time job. So I do feel you have to establish trust with that individual, and if you guys assign roles or elements that you keep to it and make it known that you're okay with maybe pushing outside the boundaries of what maybe you would have done. And you have to have that confidence that the person's going to fulfill what they're going to do.
And I think also is still remembering why we are doing it, because at the end, let's face it, we have fun together. We had such a good relationship. And of course, like I think you were saying that yesterday, is like sisters, right? Where we bicker each other, but we know that at the end, it is the relationship. We love each other. We have fun to each other with each other. So it's so important to still remember that why we came in this, adventure. And I think it was one of our podcasters, like the two, Adam and Chris, were doing some friendship date, and not talking about business, but go back to what we were. You know what I mean?
That's perfect. I do feel you and I, at least me, we have to go, 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 go. We would meet and I probably would wait 10, 15 minutes before I'd be like, oh, wait, whatever happened to blah, 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 blah. Because I was like, we got to answer these emails. We got to get to these people. So my question is, what's the one thing you wish you knew before we started this podcast? So I do think, to your point, for me, it's like reminding each other that you're there as the friendship first, and making sure you connect on those levels. If it means having a friendship date
Yeah,
or just the first 15, 30 minutes of us meeting, it's just us versus work, is definitely something I would reflect on
working.
as a key learning. What about you, Claude?
So yeah, two things. One, to jump on you going back to this friendship is when we used to send each other memes all night long, right? Where before we did this great, beautiful adventure, now it's almost we are sending memes as thinking, oh, that is something we could do. You know what I mean? So it's again going back to the root of our friendship. And then I think the other thing is how much work it is. Holy cow, it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like you say, also, we have a full time job that is quite demanding. It's not the 9 to 5 job. You have a younger child. I'm lucky he's older, so he doesn't need me as much. But, and then this, if you want to be committing, it's a lot of work, which is great, but it's good to know that in
Yeah.
advance.
One more thing too, I think I've chatted about this with you. I, in our personality, am the one that's like, go, go, go. Like, I come up with a plan. We just move forward. I'm like, test and iterate. It's fine if we don't get it right the first time, keep going. So it's funny for me to be the one to say this. However, I will put out there to anyone who wants to start a podcast, which is an amazing adventure and I highly recommend it. The one thing I would say is to think about taking time to understand your niche, what you're trying to accomplish within that niche, and at the same time, maybe reaching out to others in the industry who are already podcasting or some sort of element of the niche that you're focused on. So for us, I really do. There wasn't a lot of work besties out there. There are some, and we've become great friends with them since. I wish we had taken the time before we even kicked off our very first podcast to just chat with them and get a sense of the podcasting world because we've learned so much on our own and even through our guests. But if we had just taken that pause in the beginning, I do think we would have come out the gate a little stronger. So I do make that recommendation for anyone out there.
Yeah. And at the same time, I have to say is that because we learned on our own, I mean, especially you, right? But also the social media. Like, I didn't know much about social media. Learning about the difference between posts and reels and everything, we see how much we grew, and I think we still have a lot to grow. But I'm proud of us and I'm proud of you for pushing me because if it wasn't for you, I would still be on my couch sending you memes.
Next question. Did the reality of starting this podcast live up to your expectations? Or did you even have expectations, Claude? I don't know. I
Yes,
think you and I both
I
started
did
this and
not
you
have
told that
much.
story in a
I
very
did not,
different way.
yeah, I don't think I had much expectation. Went with the flow. And I think that, yeah, I didn't have much expectation because I didn't really know so much about this whole world. But I'm so glad. And now, I'm saying, again, I'm so proud of us for what we did. We might not have so many listening, but it's the quality as well. And like you say, we met a lot of great people and that helped us also along the way.
Right.
What about you?
So for me, the expectation was to create a community or an environment for people to feel welcome and to share stories about the value of having a work bestie and to encourage others. So I do think we met that expectation. And I'm
Yeah.
super proud of ourselves because we did it. And I don't think when we started, people understood that positioning wasn't necessarily about being just in a corporate or a CPG environment. Everyone assumed that was going to be our narrow niche, and it's not. And we've really proven that, right? We've had interviews with people across all different industries, entrepreneurs. We've had interviews with actors. We've had interviews with teachers, like those that are definitely not in the CPG world. So for those who don't know, that's consumer product goods, which is the environment that Claude and I are in. I am proud of us for helping to foster that support and community amongst all of these different groups, and to encourage it, to talk about it, to support each other and find ways to bring this attention to all industries. So I feel that expectation has been amazing to meet. Obviously, there's more to come, and there's definitely more positioning that we could do. But I do think from where we started to where we're at, we've met that expectation.
I agree. I mean, I did have that expectation to have this little community, which I didn't know how they would come together. But I think what is beautiful also to see, even in our work, is seeing the people that are surrounding each other, that from us being knowing each other and then being work besties and then doing a podcast, they do understand also, especially for the younger generation, how important it is to have a work bestie, right? I even have someone that is on my team that told me, she's like, you know what, up to now, I never had a work bestie because I didn't trust them. And now I know, I see, my team, they are work besties. And it's so nice to see that we kind of show the path to the younger generation.
So I'm going to ask this a question slightly differently because we kind of answered elements of it already. So if we were to give advice to people who are starting a work bestie podcast, what would be that piece of advice or things that we wish we already knew when we started that we would offer up?
So I would say to go in this adventure with someone that you trust and that you like/love, because again, it's a lot of work, a lot of different personality. So this is first, that unit has to be very strong, which I love because you and I are really different. Again, I'm going to say this. How do you say, adzenium, whatever. But the yin and the yang, we are so like this. Stop, it's true. Stop laughing. I have to say it, right? I
Yes,
have to
I was
say it
like,
at least once per
insert
episode.
the clip of every episode where Claude references the yin and the yang.
Watch for our costume last Halloween. But yeah, it's so important because it makes us only stronger, right? Your strength is my weakness is your strength. So that is so important, but also knowing that it's a lot of work. So make sure that some of your weekend are dedicated for that. And then all the operational behind the technique, which actually fell more on you than on me.
Yeah. So going to
What
the operational parts, or even just the parts that you may not know before you start a podcast. I kind of referenced this already, but leverage the community. It feels daunting at first, and maybe you're embarrassed, or at least maybe I was. I was like, I can learn this. This is so easy. And I did, but I feel if I had just taken the opportunity to reach out to a few people, ask questions, maybe even just watch and learn from them, I probably would have been a little bit faster, quicker, and picked up things that I didn't have to learn the hard way. And the community is so great. I can't say it enough how amazing the content community is. Everyone has welcomed us. We have had such amazing interviews, but also relationships develop from this. Some people that I kind of feel I, I'm sad if I don't hear from them each week. So yeah, a bit of advice is there is not this is a it seems like it's a huge community, and there are a lot of podcasts out there, but there are not a lot that are continuing. And I believe a big portion of that is because they're working harder versus smarter. And one of the easiest ways to work smarter is to learn from those that are already in the community. We're one of them. I believe we've even offered up and chatted with some people too to help them as they've decided to start this path too. So leverage that. It's fantastic, and everybody is so welcoming. And we'll put it out there. We're welcoming too. So if you've got
My
questions,
God,
DM us.
yeah, and so many emails we even got afterwards say, "Hey, I'm using this, I'm using that if you want." So it's really, really cool.
It is.
Cool.
It,
One of the things that I love about that question, what's been the funniest behind the scenes moment during season one? We have a lot, but
we have a lot.
what's yours?
My favorite one about you is, and it's so sad because this was before we started recording visually. We just recorded audio. But when we were chatting with my beauty junkie friends, which shout out to them, I love them. But one of my favorite episodes was that because not only do I love them, but you, I believe, were in 4 to 5 different locations throughout the episode. The people that we interviewed with were so kind. They didn't even like comment on it until the very end. I think after we recorded or close to the end, where they were like, "Claude, what's the deal? Like you were in you were in the bathroom at one point, you're in a closet at another point." And it's so sad that we couldn't visually show people how comical that was.
I know. Okay, there is a reason for this madness because my home, let's say Mediterranean, right? There's Greek, there's French, there's half Italian. So we're very noisy. And I wasn't by myself at home, so there was a lot of noise. So I was trying to find some spots that I could be away from them. So I went, one of them was my bathtub, but unfortunately the Wi-Fi wasn't working. There was like trying to find the best way to be in a quiet space. So there was some kind of, you know, why reason for that madness.
Well, it made for a very interesting episode for sure. And I giggled the whole time because at one point you had like coats hanging on top of you.
Yes.
What about you? What experience do you think was the funniest from season one?
So one for me was you. We actually put it as a blooper on a reel where we started to record, but then we're like it's not working. The sound is not there, and then finally it's because there was one the mute button was on, and then right after you had like the major lip gloss on your teeth. So that was for me was funny. I love also when this whole clothes planning, right? When I say something and then you translate for me, for people to understand better, or because you speak Claude, that's what I say to my team also, you speak Claude, because I have my own saying. Yeah, that was funny. And then there were like two of them. Suddenly we were recording and you just disappeared. That was also one with Chris, one with Carrie. Suddenly, like, you're not there anymore. And meanwhile, you're like the one that talk the most eloquent. And I'm like, oh God, it's all by myself now. But thank God you were back.
Yeah, I
That
guess
was
that's
funny
another
also.
tip for people is, I mean, we're even experiencing it today. Wi-Fi is so critical. Make sure you have a strong Wi-Fi if you're going to do the recording from a virtual location for sure. Yeah, there's been a couple, and it's so funny because our recording system catches you up. So there was, I think, in one of those, I think it was the mic one, where I was gone. I think I was gone for like 3 or 4 minutes. It was a while, and when I came back in, it
Yeah.
like started me while you guys had said, "Oh, we just lost her," and my talking overlaid with yours, and it makes no sense. So that goes back to the editing. You need to be good at editing so you can correct some of those things. Oh boy. It's been fun though. We've learned a lot. We've laughed a lot. I know you keep asking me to do my favorite blooper of you. It's which I still haven't done. Maybe over the holiday break while we're off, I can do it. But the fact that you say camaraderie so many different ways, and in a few of them, it's like stretched out. So I'll have to finally. I did one like sneakily on my own personal
Camaraderie.
TikTok. I'll have to do it on our work bestie TikTok because it's comical.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's what happened. I remember one day, it was in the middle of the night. I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I woke up, I couldn't go back to sleep. So, of course, worst thing you can do is go on your phone and look at TikTok. And I was served me saying camaraderie. And I had no idea that you had posted. And I'm like, what? And what did I do? I forwarded to you with an
So I was like,
interrogation point.
We were like
But
following each other on TikTok. And it was before we had our own personal brand, right? I don't think we even had work besties out there then. No, we didn't.
we didn't have work
Any
bestie on
clips out
TikTok.
there.
No,
No.
I mean, we were doing the
Yeah.
podcast, but
We
we
had
didn't have
nothing
the
on TikTok.
TikTok. It
I
was on your
honestly think that might
personal
be
one.
my only video on my personal one too. So you made the top FYP.
Do you think it has the most like than the one we have out there?
It didn't have the most likes, but it definitely has one of the highest views. It's not the highest, but close to.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'll finally get my act together and put that one out on TikTok too. I got to do it quick. Okay, so let's talk about New Year's resolutions. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
For work besties is for me is working way more in advance, being more like, yeah, working more in advance and so that we are not caught up at the last minute. For me, that's going to be the most important and follow through on my tasks.
You gave me because you're like, because somebody assigns me tasks. Who that is.
What about you?
New Year's resolution one for me is
See, I do things though. I want to
you
people
do,
to
you do.
know.
I did not say you didn't. I think New Year's resolution one for work besties is we have to get an intern. We need some support. Knowing when you need support's a critical thing, so we definitely need to prioritize that. So for anyone who's interested in working with us, let us know. And then the other element of it, I believe I would like us to find ways to be a little bit more in advance too. If we could try and get ourselves to the place where
Yeah,
we're more than a couple weeks in advance would be fantastic. At least when it comes to more of the podcasting
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. And we're getting there. We're getting
yeah.
there.
But also on the Instagram and everything, also to have all those like ready to post and to have the because otherwise you don't. I don't think that if you're at the last minute, you don't do the best content. um, what I would love also is for people to start coming to us saying that they want to be on our podcast. So yeah, but that's where I would like, to be recognized and say, oh my God, they are fun and it's interesting and I want to be with them. And then continuing to expand and see where everything goes. What
Yeah, I
are your
think
resolutions?
you've done a great job being our kind of social lead on the Instagram portion of it, but how do we continue to develop the platform? We just only launched on YouTube. Was that August or September, really? So we really haven't been on YouTube that long. So I would love for us, that's a very different, unique platform, and I'm loving it. I would love for us to, in our New Year's resolution, find ways to really connect to that community in a more unique way, because I think it's a very different platform and environment than Instagram. But it's fun. I feel like all of this stuff is like a fun, unique challenge that never would I have thought would have been in our realms, but it's been awesome. And then I think the last New Year's resolution that I have for us in the work besties is um our kind of continuing to elevate and push past some of our business plan opportunities, which I'm excited for. All right. So, but I do
Yep.
think, in addition to our New Year's resolution, we should position or posture to our work besties community, because we love you all so much, to have a New Year's resolution as well. We have ideas. Claude, do you want to share an idea you might have for the work besties?
I'm going to be corny to keep supporting each other, to stay, keep helping each other. And yeah, that's my advice for. And if you don't have them, if you don't have any work bestie, just like we heard so many times from the oil industry, be authentic, be who you are, and take the leap and learn to meet people.
And then my other recommendation or New Year's resolution, in addition to supporting each other, is to reach out to one more person in your work community, especially somebody you see maybe that doesn't have a work bestie. You never know. To Claude's point, never judge a book by its cover. They could be a work bestie in waiting that you just never thought to connect with, but making that one simple connection can really help.
If you think about it, you and I did that where we had two-person in our office that we kind of put under our wings, right? And they were saying that they stayed so long in their office thanks to, no, because of our friendship and us, really having fun and helping each other. And that is
Yeah.
something that I think is the best compliment.
Yeah. If you have the opportunity to see somebody struggling in your work environment, they're the best people to reach out to, because even if it doesn't, to your point, Claude, doesn't keep them at the company forever, it at least will help their time there, and they'll appreciate it so much more. And then they'll give back too, because even those individuals that you're referencing, the support that they're providing, not just back to us, but to other people in their environments, has improved tremendously
Yes.
too. Definitely agree
Yep.
there. All right, so let's quickly talk about what's next for Work Besties. Anything you want to share, Claude?
Share what?
What's next for the Work Besties?
So, what's next for the share Work Bestie? So, we are looking, of course, staying with Work Bestie, but looking at another platform as well, still being authentic to who we are. So, stay tuned on this. Do you want to say a little bit more?
No, I want them to come back for more. Season 2 is going to be really exciting. Claude's right.
Yeah.
We're adapting and evolving to some kind of a little bit more in our platform, but still focused on Work Besties. But we're really excited for what's coming out, and we look forward to telling you more about it in early 2025. So with that, I
Yay!
think that's a wrap for season 1, wrap for
You're
2024. I guess all we left to say is keep supporting each other and reach out if you ever have any questions or concerns. Yeah. Chat soon. Bye.
bye.
Remember, whether you're swapping snacks in the break room, rescuing each other from endless meetings, or just sending that perfectly timed meme, having a work bestie is like having your own personal hype squad.
So, keep lifting each other up, laughing through the chaos, and of course, thriving. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and don't forget to keep supporting each other.